Hi, welcome to Governance and Leadership, where we'll be talking about people who really matter in our community, in our nation, across the continent, and by any chance, globally. And today it will be my privilege to be speaking to Dr. Linus Okorie, who is the founder and the chairman, in some other places you may call him the president, of Godme Leadership Center, which is a foremost African leadership institute and group and company and organization that helps us nurture the people that really matter in terms of government, governance, private sector, public sector, and leadership. Let's go through to find out what Godme is all about and what African leadership, and by chance as well, when we talk about Nigeria, the most populous black nation with more than 200 million people, what as a nation she is going through, what the people as people are going through, and by and large the diaspora community as well contributing to the development of not just Nigeria or Africa as a continent, but around the world. There's quite a lot of celebration of Nigerians and Africans, especially in the new administration that we have seen in the United States of America. Once again, join me to welcome Dr. Linus Okorie on Governance and Leadership. God, you're welcome.
I'm excited to be here.
Talking about leadership, which is your quota, your department, your industry, your portfolio, and it's something that you have been in for more than 2 decades.
Absolutely.
Let me quickly rewind back to Mr. Linus before the graduate, the doctorate, and who you are in today's world. How did you actually all begin?
So I was 19 years old when I just finished secondary school. There's government secondary school, Owerri, as school captain. And the idea of leadership development hit me because I realized that there was a huge deficit of leadership capital, at that point. So I vowed that I would concentrate the next phase of my life to developing leadership capital first in the university where I had just gotten admission. So I took Godme, as it is pronounced, Guardians of the Nation International. It was first of all a school organization. So I took it into the university and I began to share its new ideas, that it was time to groom leadership capital. So I set up a team and trained the team with the little ideas that I knew about leadership at that time, because I was researching and eating up everything about leadership. So I began, as I learned, I shared. And I began to meet with various young people who were passionate about leadership across the university. In no short time, we had raised a critical mass of young leaders, head of departments, and who were all making a difference. And I decided to run for Student Union Government President on this platform. And then I won. And almost all the people we trained who became Student Union government leaders during my tenure, because of what they have learned over time, because of the grooming that they have had, a lot of them made a difference.
Wow.
There was a big difference that they brought to the table. Mm-hmm. And so when the university idea succeeded, I felt that it was time to take it seriously. So I had to approach Mr. Gamaliel Onosode, who was then one of the most outstanding Nigerians at the board level, heading different organizations as board chairman. I had to approach him to chair the organization. So he became the first chairman of the Godme as Guardians of the Nation International. And then we launched into conferencing. So we began to organize conferencing around the states. In Imo State, we moved to Lagos and began to organize conferencing and began to train. It became like an evangelism of some sort, that every person that will come our way will develop leadership capital skills, competencies, issues, values such like honor, vision, service, those critical elements of leadership that can, if a young man is groomed and he's put in a place of leadership, he will make a difference with those things. Ability to be creative, ability to be innovative, ability to serve. All of those critical skills. We've developed over 60 of those, courses, leadership courses, and began to teach all over the country. And the conferencing was doing well. We got into the NYSC system. Of course, I served in Abuja here. Yeah. And, we took it into the National Assembly where I was doing my youth service. And I began to even reach out to members of the National Assembly with a vision and began to teach. And so that's how we began to spread the idea until the NYSC as a community gave us a platform, and we began to train young people across the NYSC in Nigeria, in all the camps. We had to send delegates to all the camps. We began to work with the Women Youth Leadership Conference. So we created about 15 brands, different systems of teaching leadership. And it began to grow gradually. It was officially registered in Nigeria in 2003 with the Corporate Affairs Commission. And then, by 2008, we were already back to Abuja from Lagos, doing quite a lot of stuff. And one of the things I did, as soon as I finished my youth service, was to go to Professor Pat Utomi's, at the Lagos Business School. And I told him I needed to, this is what I want to do, but I want to serve him for 2 years so I can understand how it works. So he gave me the opportunity to become his, special and research assistant at the Lagos Business School. So I understudied the system, and I realized that leadership deficit continued to be a big issue in Nigeria, and that's why I decided to say, you know what, this was going to go full time into a private institution, first as a non-profit, and then we began to run that component over these years, and over 300,000 people had gone through our various leadership programs, and then millions through radio and television, because we launched our leadership clinic on television, launched our radio leadership clinics, and we became very regular amongst all newspapers and television platforms across the country. And then the idea of going to run my master's in America, Regent University became the institution, one of the few that would teach leadership as a program, as a master's program across the world. In the whole of Africa, there was no institution that could teach leadership. So I went to study organizational leadership at the Regent University in America, and then began to attend different short courses in Harvard, some of the institutions around the world, and all of that, and then until the point where I've gotten about 3 honorary doctoral degrees based on the work that we have done on leadership development. And so I think it was last year, or 2019, I tried to test run what I was doing. 2019, I felt like I needed to model leadership. Having grown a leadership development system, I now needed to model political leadership. I now needed to be part of the political process, to test run it. So I ran for governor of Imo State with an idea of creating a world-class Imo filled with endless possibilities. And at the end of my experience, it still dawned on me heavily that Nigeria can make progress. Africa cannot make progress until leadership development becomes a big issue, a big subhead for investment, until the government of Nigeria begins to put in a lot of resources to develop the leadership capital of our citizens at all levels, from primary, secondary to university, and even in the workplace, that a lot of resources must be voted towards teaching basic leadership competencies as vision, integrity, issues that has to do with working with people, delegation, negotiation, those critical leadership skills that if we have them in enough quantity and quality, human beings will think differently. We'll begin to stop thinking about self, we'll begin to think about the common good. Leaders will begin to think about getting the job done rather than seeking for the glory. People will pay attention to doing things that will outlive them. A sense of legacy will drive a lot of things that we do. So during the pandemic last year, or after the election, I decided that it was time to review our programs. And it was in the process of being the guest of people like Brian Tracy in America, people like John Maxwell, people like Professor John Adair, that we have brought to John Adair to the country, the first professor of leadership in the world, into Nigeria many times. It was as a result of the encounters I had with all of these individuals overseas. After investing resources in their programming, I had to observe, and I realized that, yes, the conferencing is good. Yes, all of those other programs focus on young people, very good, but the youth leadership program, very good, but we needed to create an institution. We needed to create an institution that will create a platform where both international and local faculty members can meet and provide a learning opportunity for executive education. So we decided to create a private company that will make that happen. We decided to register a Godney Leadership Center, the most comprehensive leadership center right now in Nigeria, where we offer 25 major courses, leadership courses, short-term courses, that instead of us, going overseas to take courses, that, Nigerians can spend more time right now to spend resources within the country in an institution that also provides local content to make learning, with the culture, link learning with culture or the way culture runs there in our country. And so we're now provided this platform where we have assembled the best of minds, the best of leadership coaches, the best of leadership advisors, the best of leadership speakers within and outside Nigeria, and they are now providing global but also local content, well-designed courses that is facilitating a process now where those leaders in private sector and public sector will now be deliberately groomed, nurtured for their organizational transformation. For me, I think that the greatest job Godney Leadership Center is doing is creating, leaders that are creating value, that are transforming systems, that are transforming organizations, that have in their heart the passion to make a big difference. So you can see this vision has gone through various phases. It's gone through a lot of process and everything, and at the end of the day, we are here where we are.
Good expanded conversation there on what Godney is all about. Now, in your description of and the processes and the phases that you've been through, I wanted to take you back to Owerri in the days of the secondary school. Now, what did you really remember? Who did you think you made more impact on within that period in the secondary school?
Oh yeah, very interestingly, most of those young people who were junior students, as a result of the fact that by the time I was already in SS2, I was been nominated senior prefect. But it will interest you to know that my school has an old boys system, that is very interesting. We've developed a lot of leaders around the country who are already successful. And then as a result of the fact that while I was in school, I started having contacts with those set of people when they come back for reunion. Now, one of the things that triggered these opportunities I'm sharing was that I read the book of Nehemiah. I was a member of the SU group, Scripture Union, in the secondary school. And when I read the book of Nehemiah, I began to weep. Because I saw certain skills, leadership skills, that were not common. This ability to sacrifice for the sake of your country, ability to make sacrifices, ability to pursue vision to the detriment of your comfort. ability to mobilize other people with the same vision to accomplish work of setting back the walls, building back the walls of Jerusalem. As a young person, that was what triggered my sense of passion for leadership development. I began to cry and I began to ask God, give me a vision for Nigeria. And then I started in secondary school. I would go to classrooms, to talk to students. I did a lot of work, advising and building a new generation of leaders from secondary school. And I can tell you today, a lot of work that I did today, most of those things are scattered all over the world, and a lot of them have a lot of respect for me. There's no part of the world I go to today that those young people do not. They are all grown up now. A lot of them are actually, doing great things in their various sectors. And most of them, were quite grateful when I was running for office. A lot of them showed up. So that tells you that, around Owerri, a lot of lives were impacted. And some of those lives, I see them, as senior managers in institutions. I'm happy about that. And they still follow those values that have been planted in them. Specifically.
Yeah. One thing as well that you mentioned is that the center now has about 25 different courses.
Yes, please.
Your favorites?
Oh, wow. My favorite of all the courses is the Leadership Masterclass.
Right. Why is it so?
The Leadership Masterclass is, actually a 2-day leadership, development program that has at the center of it, redefining leadership. There's a lot of misconception of leadership currently, that people don't even understand what leadership is about. People think that leadership is position, leadership is lordship. People think once you are appointed a leader, that you you cannot be called a leader. No, you have to earn the right to be called a leader. And so in this particular course, it addresses it in such a way that by the time we teach this particular course, the type of reactions we get in class is unbelievable. So from redefining leadership to creating leadership systems. How do you create leadership systems in your individual lives? How do you, structure your life with a leadership system that will make you, quite fit to deal with a global reality, with globalization, and how do you utilize, technology and all of that, to advance your leadership, system. These are some of the things that we teach in that program. Another element that is exciting for me in the program is what we call leadership dynamics. Leadership dynamics, where we talk about 4 levels of leadership. 4 levels of leadership. There's something called mind leadership. Mind leadership, that a lot of people, specifically, they have not been able to lead their minds. If you can't lead your mind and protect your mind from threats that can put you in a position where you become an individual that is you become a reaction-based individual, not somebody who is proactive. You become somebody who is filled with anger, and you're not able to perform because you have not been able to protect your mind from, anger, failure, the fear of failure, the fear of uncertainty, all of those things that can help, even ego, sense of ego, things that can help destroy leaders. You allow your mind to hate and all of that. So the program demystify, all of those things and put you in a place where you can have the right type of mind leadership. And then you grow from mind leadership to personal leadership. From personal leadership to leading others to leading tasks. Oh my God, it's such an exciting program that, in designing that program, it was quite, a lot of work, to be able to design the program to fit into our immediate environment. So senior executives of private sector, organizations, enjoy that program. In fact, Thursday and Friday this week, we're actually hosting the program, 25th and 26th. In both virtual, people can join in virtually as well as in the heart of the program. So if you're available, just come and take a taste of the program. It's something that will blow your mind away. So and the feedback we get is unbelievable. Right. So and the beautiful thing is that I'm not the only faculty. There are other faculties from all over the world, who are part of this in a huge program. Right. That's the first. The second one is public speaking with power and influence. Have you seen a lot of our political actors speak?
Sure. Yes.
A lot of our political actors, they speak, most of them lack content.
Now, let me slow you down there.
Yes.
Based on the public speaking engagement
Yes.
that you just mentioned,
Yes.
will you join them together that the reason why they do speak the way they do
Yes.
is because there's no consequences, there's no output and result oriented based on the way they present themselves?
Absolutely. A lot of it also falls on leadership deficits, specifically because you can't give what you don't have. A lot of people were put in positions where they don't have any passion and commitment, for those positions. And public speaking requires, a lot of passion and commitment for what you do. So if you're able to have content, because if you want to do something, it means that in this area you're supposed to be competent in that area, you're supposed to be passionate in that area, you're supposed to be somebody who has learned a lot within that particular area. So what it means is that you will speak with a lot of commitment and passion around it, and because of the fact that a lot of these politicians don't mean what they say, and in public speaking, meaning what you say is something that is so powerful because people pick them up, and also because of the fact that people think that once they get to a certain positions, they no longer would have to learn. They no longer will have to learn anything new. So there are people who have not opened a book for the last 20 years specifically, and so if you have not opened a book to add something to your life, so tell me, you lack content, there won't be any content. You'll be looking for vocabulary when you're speaking, and that's when people say yes, so because they don't have something to be able to say, or they don't have great content. And so this is important. It's important for a leader to be a great speaker, to enable the leader sell policy, ideas, sell policy, plans, of government, sell the vision of the government, to the people, whether it's local government share, and even in the legislative practice, the ability to be able to, set up your motion and do it well. When you have your motion on the floor, you present it in a very powerful way that there will be a buy-in, specifically. And then how do you even create bills? This is mobilizing and connecting to people's emotions. Very key, very important, to be able to drive progress. So speakers, leaders, both in the private sector and public sector, must be people who have capacity to speak with power and influence. Even if you run a small business, your ability to be able to speak with power and influence, to influence people, to your ideas or to your services, or even sell your products, you require a lot of capacity to be able to, even if you want to attract investors. How do you do that without speaking with power and influence? So it's one of our most powerful courses at the Leadership Center that is already generating so much energy that is positive.